All right, we are going to move into our second panel of today. My favorite panel, this is our student panel. This is all we are here for, so we are excited to highlight these individuals and the work that they continue to do both in and out of the classroom. Our moderator for today is a young man who comes to us straight out of Philly. He is a native of Philadelphia Public Schools. He is currently the executive director and co-founder of an organization called UrbEd, supporting schools and education and advocating for them throughout the city and the country. He's also my little brother. So I'd like to welcome up Mr. Samir Harper. Good afternoon. That was an amazing crowd. Lunch is coming up soon. Good afternoon. That's what I like to hear. I see some great faces in the room. We are about to hold our dear Mr. panel, so we can just have all our panelists come to the stage, and I'm going to allow them to do their amazing introduction because I'm going to butcher how amazing they are in the long run. So if we can have our panelists come to the stage, take their seats, and I will be doing it.
All right, so if we can have our first panelist, and this panel is as Sterling said, all students, which is important because we are here at the Black Male Educators Conference, and we need to thank our teachers, one, so for all our educators, thank you for the work, but two, we need to hear the student perspective on one, what it means to have a black male educator and how important it is to have one. So if we can have our first panelist, Adrian, introduce himself and continue to go down the line, and then we'll go into questions.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. My name is Adrian Charles Evans IV. I'm a sophomore at the University of Pennsylvania studying communications, Africana studies, and education.
Hello everybody, my name is Nora Bowman. I'm a junior at the Baldwin School, so I'm still in high school and hopefully I plan to be a foreign correspondent.
Good afternoon everyone. I'm Horace Ryan III. I'm currently a junior at Science Leadership Academy here in Philadelphia. It's a pleasure to be here and to see all these beautiful black faces here today. All right.
So we have a very well diverse group of panelists that will be able to give you every perspective. So I moderate panels just a little bit differently than most people. So this panel is for the people that's in the crowd. So if you have a question that you want to ask, I do ask that you hashtag Dear Mister. I'm going to have my phone out so we can view these questions. Don't leave us up here hanging. Because I know you have a question that you have been hesitant to ask your students, that you are more than welcome to ask the panelists up here. But I'm going to dive into our first question, and this is a very broad question, but I want you to describe a teacher that has impacted your life. Noor, you want to start?
Yeah, so last year I had a history teacher. He's not African American, he's a Caucasian male, and he definitely challenged me. I love history, I love black history, and we talk lots about the Civil War. And he was the kind of teacher that sort of influenced the opinion of the class a little bit. He didn't just say, oh, this is the fact. He's more of like, this is what happened. This is why I think it happened, and this is why it's good or bad. And obviously our opinions were very different, and we would argue almost every class. And at the end I was like, he hates me. This guy really, really hates me. I argue, I'm the only student in the class who talks with him. And at the end he wrote me this beautiful letter of recommendation talking about that just being able to articulate yourself and speak for yourself that other students weren't able to do. And I realized that part of it was his bias of being a white male, some of the things about African American history, but the other part was just trying to get me out of my comfort zone. You believe this, but why do you believe it? And that was the first time that a teacher tried to challenge me intellectually in a good way.
Horace, do you want to jump in?
Yeah, of course. I guess the teacher that had the biggest impact on me was a Caucasian male teacher back in my 8th grade year of middle school. He taught me math, and usually I'm not really good at math. I struggle a little bit, but he really engaged with me and showed me that I can do whatever I put my mind to, just as long as I'm determined enough to keep with it. And at my 8th grade graduation, I'm hopping forward a little bit, he gave this award. It's the Martha something award for peacemaking and just overall good character. And he gave this award, and before he gave it, he gave a speech on how he wanted this kid to become like a son to him and how he wanted his children to turn out like this kid. And I was sitting there like, no, that's not me. I don't even talk to this guy that much. But as soon as he said my name and looked into my eyes and said, I want my kids to be like you, I cried. I'll admit that, I did cry. But then I thought to myself, well, why? And so then I had to reflect on my years in his class, and I saw that he had become a father figure to me that I had never expected him to be. A Caucasian male teaching a black student, and I had never thought that he could be like a dad to me. But that's my teacher.
A teacher who was effective for me, who still is effective for me, is Dr. Brian Peterson at the University of Pennsylvania. So I see some of you know him in the crowd. In my college essay, I wrote about taking a class called Education in American Culture with Dr. Brian Peterson. He was just a name on a piece of paper. I had no idea who he was or anything about him. And by luck, by the grace of God, he ended up being my college advisor when I stepped on the campus. And I was enrolled in this class in the first semester of my freshman year. And a year later, I'm the TA of that class currently, and we started a mentorship program, a college access and college readiness program this past summer called the Maku Summer Impact Program. And to see how he went from just a name, just someone I was researching, to show that I did my research on Penn, to someone who acts as the role of as a father figure in my life, for someone who is in a role that I want to be in one day, someone who all of Black Penn loves. He is like the voice of Black Penn community. And when I see older Penn students tell me that they see Brian in me, like nothing makes me feel better. So I say he's the person that's had the largest impact on me.
Indeed. And Horace, you go to the Science Leadership Academy, where, disclaimer, I'm also a graduate of. And we talk very often about the impact of one of your first Black male educators at the Science Leadership Academy. Tell me about your first Black male educator and how he has impacted your life, and how does Black male educators in general impact your life?
So that teacher's name is Matthew Kay. I don't know if some of you know him, but he's a pretty well-renowned, pretty well-respected Black man. He taught me English my sophomore and freshman year, and to be completely honest, I was not ready nor expecting to have a Black male in my classroom teaching me such a renowned subject. He made it a goal to connect with me as a Black student in his classroom, and he has this thing about him that really makes sure that he's connecting with every student. But because I was Black and he was also Black, I felt like that was a connection that we shared that probably 7 other kids in the classroom had. I was one of 4 Black men in that classroom, and I felt like I connected with him the most, because the other Black men in my classroom didn't very care much for English. They were just too concerned with getting out of that classroom first. But the impact he had on me, he included a lot of cultural relevant reading inside his classroom. We read a book called, I think it was either Raisins in the Sun or Native Son. That was also the book. And it was about this young Black man living in Detroit and all the struggles that he may face. I'm not going to spoil the book because it's a really good book. You should all read it. But he included that reading to demonstrate to all the kids that just because somebody's living in a certain time does that mean that they're a product of that time. That the main protagonist in the story was trying to break out of that and trying to not fit the bill, but in the end he did, because he was a Black man. And overall, what Black male educators have an impact on their Black students is that just seeing that leadership role being taken in the classroom is something that's going to establish grassroots community leading in your student. I know for me, part of the reason why I'm so involved in my community and why I'm so involved in just everything is because I saw teachers one teacher and a bunch of African American role models in my life do some pretty great things, and I thought I want to get up there with them. I want to see the table, because I saw that it's not impossible, and I saw that there are people that look exactly like me. There are people who look like me in this room who are doing amazing things. I want to be like them, and that's my experience with a Black male educator.
Indeed, so you Black male educators continue to do the work. Nora, I know when we were talking, you got really excited because I asked, how many Black male educators have you had? That's like a question that I try to ask everyone. And you were like, one, and then you got excited and said, no, two. Tell me about your two Black male educators, and why did you get so excited to only have two Black male educators?
Yeah, so actually one of them, I believe he's here, I think, from my HR class, also at Haverford. Mr. Jobs. Yay, there he is. Okay, so that's my, yeah, so that's my second Black male educator. I actually take a class that's like, I go to all-girls school, so our brother's school hosts a class, so he's my teacher there. So first I really didn't consider him a teacher, and I was like, wait, no, he is a teacher. So that's my second Black male educator. And my first was Mr. Campbell from last year, my math teacher, and I am not good at math. Humanities is definitely my thing. But Mr. Campbell always really tried to cultivate the math, sorry. A little bit nervous, but Mr. Campbell, he always tried to make math a subject for me. He said, no matter what you want to do, don't limit yourself. You know, just because you're good at writing, just because you're good at speaking and you're good at history, that doesn't mean you have to just stick with that. And so he made extra credit projects for me where I went and I learned about the history of math throughout different civilizations, really trying to get me engaged. And I absolutely love that. And every day he told me, you can do math, and this is how you're going to do it. Whereas I had another experience prior to going to Baldwin, and a teacher, all the kids are complaining like, oh, math is so complicated. Why are we learning this stuff? And he said, you're right, it is complicated, and I don't understand why you're learning it, because you guys aren't going to be engineers, and this is the kind of math for that. And I was so caught off guard, because no, I don't want to become an engineer, but why would you suggest that none of us will become engineers, as if we couldn't do that? And so knowing, like, now that I'm thinking about it, what Mr. Campbell could see in me as a Black male educator is that me, as another person of color, as another Black student, is that I am capable of that. And that's something that another teacher, unfortunately, sometimes can't see.
Indeed, so the things that Black male educators can see, sometimes their counterparts, not counterparts, white educators cannot see. And I'm gonna keep the questions rolling. I'm moving over to them now. And Adrian, I wanna jump into this one, which when I read it, I was like, whoa, it's about to get real in this room. Why should Black men teach in the era of the person that's in the White House right now? We're gonna avoid his name at all costs necessary for the record.
I believe that when looking at the media, looking at everything that's around us, I think the narratives on Black men are terrible. I think we all know what they are. They're not positive. And so there's a lot of, everything is telling you what not to be, right? I have a pretty clear picture in my head as a Black man of what not to be, what not to do. But where are the role models telling me what to do? Who is in that position of power that's giving me, the access, to knowledge, the access to mentorship, the access to aspire to something else? Who's giving me that? And you spend most of your year in school, you spend most of your childhood in school, like, that's where your life is, that's where your life begins, that's where foundations, for your morals, for things like that happen. So when you spend so much time there, if you don't have someone that looks like you, that you can aspire to be like, then what do you have, right? Because not everyone, you don't know what people's family situations are like, what type of role models they have outside of the classroom and extracurricular activities and things like that. But school is constant among, children's lives in this country for the most part. So for Black children to have someone that they can look up to, someone that can teach them the right things, teach them things about life correctly, teach them how to be good people, teach them how to love themselves and be whole people, is just essential, especially like in this climate today where things are just boldly being said about every person of color, just boldly degrading everyone. It's now more than ever is a time to be affirmed, and black male educators can do that in the classroom.
Indeed, and I'm going to carry on to that point. Nora, I wanted to ask you a question that was sent in via Twitter. Outside of the entertainment industry, who are the leaders and influencers you pay attention to today? If you don't have that black male educator, who should students be looking into, and who should teachers be showing in the classroom?
Not an entertainment person, right? Yeah.
It
Okay,
can
they
be
could
in the
a famous
entertainment
person, but
business, not Kanye West,
Yes,
but
oh,
it can be
yes.
anybody else.
Okay, yes. Yes, I understand that. I hate when we look at like reality stars and musicians and see them as our role models, but because black people were much more than the Cardi B's and the Beyoncés. I love Oprah. Since I was very young, I always watched the Oprah show. I absolutely love her. I think her backstory is phenomenal. I don't know if she counts as an entertainer. Does that count?
Is she an entertainer, y'all?
She?
They said she an entertainer. She did write Greenleaf. I'm just saying.
Yeah, so she's kind of an entertainer, but I absolutely love her backstory and sort of how she's built this whole network for herself. So I don't know if that counts in a sense, but that's someone that I've always looked up to. When I was younger, I remember telling my mom that when I grow up, I'm going to have a stage that's bigger than Oprah. So still got a long way to go to that, but absolutely looked up to her.
Horace, how about you? Who else other than educators should you be looking up to?
You need me to get sappy with it? I can get real sappy with it like right now.
Rock
All right,
out.
hold up, y'all. Are y'all ready? Plot twist. It's him. All right, look, I'm gonna tell y'all something right now. Yeah, no, give him a hand. No, please, clap, please. Okay. All right. So, my freshman year of high school, I really didn't know who I was. I was not the same person I am right now sitting up on this stage. Freshman year me would not be on this stage, and I would not look the way I look right now. Tamir Harper found me in a place where I was trying to fix myself, reconstruct the image of who I was and who I am. He made me accept the fact that I am a black man living in America, and I will always have to work twice as hard as any white man to get to where I want to get. And so during this time, Tamir and I sat down with each other and discussed what I can do to be better. And it wasn't only a conversation about me, it was about how Tamir brought things to me and I told him how he could fix it, and I brought things to Tamir and see how he could fix it or I could fix it. It wasn't just a conversation about how I could better myself, it was a conversation about how we could better ourselves as brothers with the same color skin and how we could progress through the world together. Tamir gave me a seat at the table. He always says to me, I gave you a seat, but you're the one doing the work to keep yourself there. Why I'm here today is because of Tamir, but he keeps telling me that I keep going further because of me. He set, I'm gonna say it again, he set those grassroots in me to be a community leader. And of course, I thank you every day. But you are the person that I look up to every single day so I can be better.
I'm a little choked up on that. One, thank you. And that's a brotherhood, and I know y'all want me to shut up and go into this panel, but that's a brotherhood, and that's what we as a black community need to continue to do, because I'm at a PWI right now, and it's no sense of that community. So when you leave this room at the end of this panel, find someone during your lunchtime to connect with and be that brother in the long run. And I think we have a few more minutes, and I am looking at these questions that are, whew. So, Horace, we're going to go off of that point and go off what motivates you to keep your seat at the table. And I want everyone to answer that question. What motivates you to keep going?
All right. So right now in my high school career, I'm constantly surrounded by people that don't look like me. And I have a reputation of being a pretty good kid with a pretty good sense of mind. But there are also kids who don't know what they want to do and are not sure what spaces they want to be put in. And what really keeps me going is trying to encourage every student to try and identify what's your strong suit, what are you so good at that you excel over everybody else. But also keeping in mind that you have to bring up somebody with you. So I guess what drives me is I have a young mentee, his name is Taj Walter, who was supposed to be here today, but he couldn't make it. I saw Taj freshman year, just like how Tamir saw me, and I was like, I can help you and you can help me. We started talking and relating experiences, and I found out that we were basically the same person, just in different bodies. And so what's been my driving force has been trying to get him into spaces like this, where he can see black men succeeding, black women succeeding on a scale that he would have never seen anywhere else. And so what drives me is to see the light in his eyes, to keep the fire in my heart, to see that he is being inspired. I am being inspired to keep going because I want to be in spaces like this, to be surrounded by people that look like me and love me for who I am. And so I continue to have that driving force in all the work that I do because I want to bring up a young person. I want that young person then, when he rises above me, to bring me up too. It's all about succession and building that platform so that we can keep going as a people. Because together we stand divided, we will always fall. And touching on Tamir's point of brotherhood, that's love. But first we have to love ourselves and then love the people that love us. And then love them even more. But that's just been my driving force just all throughout this whole experience.
Indeed, and I know that we have 5 minutes left, so I'm going to ask the panelists, we're going to do rapid responses because I don't think we want to keep people away from their food as students, definitely teachers. And I know, Nuri, you have a teacher in the room, so we don't want no failing grades. If you can do that same thing, what continues to motivate you?
I think what continues to motivate me is all the inspirational women I have in my life. I think no matter where I go, I'm always the only one. So you could say, oh, a person of color or black or being Muslim. And I'm in so many environments where people don't even know, like, is she black? Is she this? So even though I may be amongst people that, are part of, a part of me, they might not recognize that. And so because of that, I feel like I'm always the only one. But I think that through that experience, I think I've sort of grown a thick skin and learned to be comfortable in all uncomfortable situations. And I think that I've seen so many amazing women, both black, most of the women in my life are black, and they have just done so many amazing things. So no matter where I'm going, even if I'm the only Muslim or the only black girl in that situation, I know that there's so many black people that have done it before me. And I think that, if we're so caught up on being the only one, we're never going to get there. There has to be someone that's going to be first. And I think that if you keep that in mind and you keep the goal of your ancestors in mind, you can do anything.
Yes, shout out to our black queens in the room. Adrian, if you want to answer that same question, what motivates you?
There's two things that motivate me. One is every black male that didn't have a positive educational experience. Honestly, like from 3rd, 4th grade, I wasn't gifted and talented, and I was tracked at a high level honors, AP classes throughout, and I had to really start to unpack that and deconstruct that. I had a very different educational experience than a lot of my peers did, and that's something that when I was going through it, I didn't realize it, but now looking back, I see that completely. So for me, I want to, one, make sure that every individual has that positive experience, has the experience of teachers believing in you and not doubting you because of your skin color. 2 is my little brother, Jaden. He's 10 years younger than me. And if I can't implement changes structurally or do anything on that grand scheme level, then I need to educate him personally to make sure that he doesn't have the same negative experiences that I may have had or that other people may have had. Because honestly, like if he can go through his life and 10 years later be in the same position I was and be dealing with the same struggles and have the same ideas in school, like why are they not doing this, why are they not doing that, then I haven't done anything. So I just want to set it up so that he has a better experience than I did and continue to pay it forward.
BMEC's always shouting in the front. And I know we have 2 more minutes, so I'm going to ask a question that's going to be rapid that I think we need to leave every black male educator and non-educator, to be frank, in this room. What's one piece of advice you would give everyone in this room as someone that's sitting in a classroom every day? What's one piece of advice? Jump in, whoever wants to go first.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
You good? It's on.
It's on? It's on. Okay. Speak success into your students. Touching on Tamir's question before about having, number 45 in office, a white man, speak success into them because they can only take it further than you'll ever imagine. Because if we're berating our children with, you'll never get there, yeah, you can make it there, but what are you going to do? Say, Okay, you're there. Now keep going. Don't stop. You can do it. You might not have a plan, but keep going. Hold that seat at the table. Just speak success into them. They'll take it somewhere. And then have them bring you up because you know you want to get somewhere too. But yeah, just speak success into your children. That's my advice to you all.
I would just say give every kid a chance. You know, we're kids, we can learn, we can go far. You know, we might not be there now, but if you just give us a chance, perhaps we can. And that's how I feel with my math teacher, and different people have given me so many opportunities because they believed in my potential rather than what I was capable of in that moment.
I'd say you don't have to be the best, but you have to try your best. Because kids notice effort, and so if you're giving the effort every day to be the best version of yourself in that classroom, then they'll acknowledge that, and they'll be able to give their best effort in the classroom every day.
Indeed, and I'm just going to jump in on this question as well. Adrian, I'm going to piggyback, and I think show them who you are in and outside of the classroom. I think students, specifically for me, I was most connected with teachers that sometimes came in with their full suit on, but the next day came in with their ball shorts on because they were grading papers till 1 a.m., just like I was writing their assignment till 1 a.m. So show them that you are a person, because very often we see teachers as someone that's not a person. They're not human. They are part of the machine, but show them you are in it and you are resisting the machine. I hope some of us are going against the system of underfunding schools and focus on standardized testing and pushing black students out of the classroom. That was way too dry. If you're not going against the school to prison pipeline and you're a black male educator, you are not doing a service to students, you are doing a disservice. So let's try that again. Who's doing a service to their students in here? So we're going to close by, I think we need to use students as a resource more and more often. So if you can tell everyone in this room how to connect with you. I know you guys will be here during lunch, but how can they connect with you on social media? If you have a website, if your email, how can they connect with you and continue to build their knowledge from students?
If you want to follow my Twitter, it's Horace Ryans _3, like the Roman numeral 3. You can contact me at horace@urbedadvocates.org. That's the main email I use, and you'll find me around here during the whole conference. So if you see me, just say what's up.
Yes, don't be shy. Please talk to me after this. My email is in, as in Nancy, Bowman@baldwinschool.org.
My Facebook, Adrian Evans, IV, that's the 4th.
Did you pull out Facebook though, bro?
Yeah, man.
Oh, all right, for the record. I was just making sure.
I'm just saying. I'll drop my Instagram later in a, face-to-face conversations. I don't want to throw it out there right now. But please come up and talk to me. I'm in a pink tie. It's not hard to miss, so yeah.
Indeed. So let's give our panelists a round of applause. Thank you guys so much for joining us today. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and I think we're going to hear some words from our board chair, Miles Wilson.
I wasn't supposed to say any words, but thank you, I'll do it anyway. For everybody in the room right now, and I think the board is okay with this was not on the script, but since Tamir asked me to step up, I'll do it. I held back tears at that table just now. The people I sat with held back tears when another young black man told another young black man publicly in front of you, 1,000 people who they don't know, how much they cared about each other. For a lot of us, the way we grew up, that was not allowed. That space was not given. Matter of fact, we are so damaged in many instances, this idea of sharing love and respect publicly, showing support and emotion was looked at, it was frowned upon when I grew up. I want to let you know that this over 1,000 people, or approximately 1,000 people, we just learned from you. And as educators, what we all have to know is, it is not about what we do or how we educate these young people. It is an exchange. What did we just learn from these young people? The best teachers are the best students. You just taught us a tremendous lesson. You are to be respected. You are supposed to be loved, and you are supposed to be nurtured. And we owe you that. I'm fighting back tears right now. And I come from an OG generation where you don't do that kind of thing. And I'm getting over myself right now. I'm learning how to be better. So we appreciate you. We thank you for what you just taught us. And I would say this, if you are not inspired after seeing that, you have no right to call yourself an educator. If you did not get chills up and down your back just now, teaching is not your profession. You need to be a chemical engineer. You need to be an auditor. You need to go deal with numbers in a back office. What we just saw and heard is humanity. Every session that we just took part in was all about humanity. If you can't, and if you have not touched into your human self after watching these young people give you everything, you don't deserve to be a teacher, and we don't deserve to be in front of you. We love you, we appreciate you, and thank you so much for sharing the way you just did. And as a charge from the fellowship, we better go out here after this is over. We done party, had the concert, we did all that. Man, we better fight like hell for these young people. Fight like hell. We fight for everything else, fight for them.